people fall back to their tendencies and their defaults, and they get lazy, and it's tough to break, the cycle and your interviewing approach, because like our students, it's worked to this point because you still have a job. But the problem here is, if you're going to get better, if you want to get promoted, if you really want to impact a student's life differently, learning how to adapt to the audience in front of you, change your soft skills, your nonverbals, really go a long way in capitalizing and improving positively more people in our industry.
This episode is brought to you in part by Chief Digital Marketers, the leading marketing agency for higher education and healthcare companies. Chief Digital Marketers ensures alignment between your marketing strategy, customer journey, and call center operations to guarantee qualified leads that turn into revenue at scale. To learn more or to get an audit of your current marketing initiatives, please visit chiefdigitalmarketers.com.
No, this is awesome. Love the energy. That this is really fun. The one of the points that really resonated with me was when you said, not in the trenches, but just a couple notches above the battlefield. There's a training that I used to do called Hero's Journey, right? And it's built off, the hero's journey, which is pretty much the backdrop of any movie you've ever seen. But I utilize Simba and the Lion King, right? And, the question at the beginning of the training to the admissions reps is, who's the hero, in this drama, right? Is it the potential student, or is it, the admissions representative, right? And we go through each notch of the hero's journey. But the conclusion is that the potential student is the hero, and the admissions representative is Rafiki, right? Or Jiminy Cricket, right? Or Alfred, right? Alfred doesn't fight with Batman, but that's the person that, basically guides him, right? Always brings him back to his roots and his true self, right? To your point, Shannon, yes, they may not have the education at this point, but it's in them. They can actually do it. They can be successful. And from an admission standpoint, what you're trying to do is you're trying to bring that out for them, because they're the one that's going to have to actually complete the program. You're not going to be able to hold their hand the entire way. You can't be in the trenches. The best strength is for you to be a guide. Go ahead, Shannon.
And I think what's relevant, and I always say, I rarely use my own experience, through education, but every so often I salt and pepper and I place it. I always go to a quote by Booker T. Washington, and I to this day I carry it in my wallet. And it was a quote that my mom gave me. And I went to college in South Georgia. I grew up in Northeast Ohio. Big culture shock, big everything. And the quote, and to this day, I always like to read it. And I'll paraphrase it, but it says, "Success shouldn't be measured merely by the position one attains in life, but rather by obstacles overcoming in doing so." Because I think everyone knows somewhere someone that got something in a silver platter handed to them, or that basically didn't earn it, had the connections and got it. But I bet you we all know someone, especially students, that maybe they're not where they want to be, but man, when you look at the obstacles they overcome to get to where they are, you're thinking, that is remarkable. That is amazing. I can't believe it. I'd never be able to do it myself. And I think that's so much to our students. And when we look at, one thing I wanted to touch on before we departed was, this objection with like cost versus price. And so often, active responders, want to hit us with, what's the price? What's the price? What's the price? Or what's it going to cost me? What's this education going to cost me? I get that all the time. And I always tell my, reps, well, how do I respond to someone that just wants to know what's it cost? And I say, I don't know. And they're like, well, you say, I don't know on the phone. I'm like, well, what I say is this. I say, I don't know. If you want the price, I'll give you the facts and figures. I can give you the price of our program right now, but I don't know what it's going to cost you, your family members, your friends, if you don't ultimately look at the options to see if it's a good complement for your future. That's kind of the point of coming in, letting us know what we do, taking a tour, so you can see if it's a good fit, better yet, a compliment for yourself. Because here's the thing, if everything was solely about price, if everything was only about practicality, then why would, and function, why would anyone ever buy a luxury item? Because here's the thing, if it was only about practicality and purpose and price, not about value, prestige, or anything like that, then why would someone buy a BMW instead of a Hyundai? Not that I have a Hyundai, so I love I love Heidi. But what I'm saying is,
no, I get your point.
At the end of the day, like if people are willing to spend more for an experience that utilizes either value or a better success for, a better proposition for success. And I think so often what we do, we do cost more than traditional ed by far. And what I'll say to this is the experience and the touch points in and throughout our programs are so unique that, when I got financial aid at, Valdosta State University, they basically put me with one rep, fill out these paperworks and pray like they got you what you qualified. We do intimate one-on-one appointments, to ensure that we qualify a candidate correctly and accurately.
Yep.
Admissions, I went on a guided tour with like 20 other people. Here we have individualized tours, and you're able to really get personal and understand and see it. Our instruction, I was in an auditorium with, 75, 100 people. Here we have classrooms that are much more conducive. And for the demographic we serve, ultimately it's successful. So from a price versus cost perspective, end of the day, like I can give you the price. I just don't know what it's going to cost you if you decide to go elsewhere. And it isn't, set up for your success because, so often some students are designed to handle traditional ed very well. Some students are designed to come to our programs to be successful. And it would be a disadvantage for them to go to a more robust, university style where they're not being able to be monitored. I mean, our instructors, as in many in the industry, contact students when they miss class. I could tell you at my university, they monitored attendance and stuff, but at the end of the day, if we missed class, that was on you, or my junior college before it. If you missed class, the instructor was not calling you, and I think that, or career services. I remember when I got my degree, I asked the dean of my professor, hey, I have a poli-sci degree. What do people do with this? And he literally looked at me and said, some people work at Walmart, some people work on the Hill. It's really what you decide to do with it. And I didn't have a robust division like our campuses do that literally have employer contacts that came on site, that talked to students. They did job fairs. I mean, and to their credit, they did. I love my universities as an alumni, but what I love about proprietary ed is it literally is like, our career services are like recruiters. They literally act as the liaison between education, and the workforce and the employment market. And I think that's so unique because that is what, so often isn't talked about. Those tangible items that can really incorporate and calm the fears of a marketing candidate, either active or passive, on seeing the value, tying a feature that we have to a benefit in their lives and illustrating for them seamlessly, like, listen, once you complete this, we're going to do this and we're going to help job placement assistance. And that's the thing. It's got to be a 50-50. They got to work with you as much as you work with them. But if they're willing to commit to us, we're willing to commit to them. And rarely have I seen a situation where if both parties are committed to each other, good things don't come. So, I think that, just want to touch on that cost versus price, because I think going back to that Booker T quote, I think so often individuals focus more on their failures. And I know The Rock, I love watching The Rock on Instagram, but he always talks about how failure is just, another step to success. And though it sounds corny at times, it's so factual because, he's big on the $7, approach. I don't know if you know the story, but $7 is what he had in his pocket when he graduated from University of Miami before he went to Vancouver for his football. But, and he built his empire that way. And he's, went up and down. But I think that's our student. Failure isn't final, and, you can always change it. So stop defining yourself by your past, learn from it, get back up from it, and sometimes praise it because it provides the best foundation. I love the saying, like, rock bottom is the best place that I built my foundation, because they just put the bricks and built themselves back up. So, like I said, I love the industry, and I love working with students individually. And I think that's what we're able to do. And I think that's why the schools that are successful implement a lot of these techniques in their own culture, in their own way, at their own pace.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I saw The Rock. He's partnered with Acorn, and he was talking about the $7, and you can start an account for your child, and I think the first 1 million people or something like that, they're putting $7 into the account, which is extraordinary. I wish I would have had given The Rock a loan when he was down to his last $7.
You and I both.
With a return on investment, that would have been. But no, this is an awesome place to end it. Really some great stuff. Without struggle, you're right. There's no progress. And I've always told people, if you're scared to fail, you're scared to succeed. Like there's no difference, because you have to go through the failures before you succeed. So George, you want to wrap us up, my friend?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's been an awesome episode. I think, I've learned a lot. I think our listeners are going to learn a lot when this episode drops. I mean, talking about active versus passive responders, how to tailor your sales conversations, your admission process, all the way to your marketing to help better speak more transactionally to those active responders while overcoming their objections like price, as we talked about. And then also with the passive responders, how can we be more emotional in our conversations, more empathetic, and align that more with our marketing as well. So I think it's been an extremely valuable episode. Appreciate Shannon coming on and taking time out of his day. Shannon, any parting words for our audience before we wrap up?
Well, first, I want to thank both of you. I think what you do and how you do it is fantastic. I think giving a platform where really industry professionals can kind of talk about best practices and their visibility through the years and really give a platform for that is intangible, like just awesome. So I want to thank you. And more importantly, obviously, with our industry, just really focusing on the student. I think, at the end of the day, individual over information. And if you focus on the student, regardless of the metrics that we are all measured on, you can get there, and you can get there compliantly, legally, and with a good bottom line.
Thanks for listening to the Higher Ed Podcast. This episode was brought to you in part by Engine Systems and Chief Digital Marketers. For more information on topics discussed, you can visit engine.systems or chiefdigitalmarketers.com. Join us next week and every week after for more innovative and actionable advice.